Today I'm going to talk about what I wish every home buyer knew when purchasing a home. Everybody, my name is Andy and I'm currently the founder and owner of Kai Mortgage. And we're just based out of Salt Lake City, Utah, and I've been a mortgage broker for the past 6 years, found my success and was pretty much able to talk with a ton of home buyers on a daily basis, and I've been able to basically see what a lot of people make their mistakes on and observe it, and with my experience it comes with a lot of things that I wish that a lot of home buyers knew before even purchasing a home. Because let's be honest, purchasing a home, it's not something that people talk about or get taught about in school, right? So when you're purchasing your first home and acquiring a large asset, one of the biggest assets in your life, I think it's very, very important to know the pitfalls and to know what exactly to expect and maybe even how to prepare for it so you don't get random surprises down the road, right? So I'm actually in my office. I'm in front of my screen right now just so I have some guidance to follow along. I'm not a very good memorizer. A couple of things. So number one is your credit score isn't absolutely everything, but it is a huge factor, right? So early on, you don't have a credit score, I highly recommend opening up a secure line of credit. Not a secure line of credit, it's a secure credit card where you can actually start building your credit score. Credit score is one of the biggest factors when determining the terms of the loan that you're getting yourself into. And typically, it's probably around 580, and then the higher end you can go really as high as like 850. Now, if you're somewhere in the 700 range, 650 to 750, you're going to be solid, but always shoot for something in the 700s. And one of my biggest advice is a lot of people actually don't know that the utilization score is one of the biggest factors when affecting their credit score. So people always say, hey, use under 30% of your credit utilization, but I just highly recommend you at least are using under 10%. You're going to be able to get the highest value and be able to increase your credit score significantly. So my number one thing. And then the number two thing is your pre-approval is your power move. So when purchasing a home, a lot of people go find a house immediately, right? They because they see something that they really like and they want to go check it out without knowing if they're actually pre-approved or what their budget is. Before purchasing something of maybe you're getting into something like a 300 or 500 plus or whatever it may be, I think it's very important to know what you're getting yourself into on paper, right? And I think a lot of people overlook that more than often. So pre-approval, all it is hey, you're speaking with the lender, finding out, hey, how much can you actually qualify for, what the monthly payment is, and does that actually fit your budget? Maybe you can qualify up to $700,000, but are you comfortable with that? And one of the most important thing is when you're submitting an offer, you have to know that the seller is expecting you to also submit a pre-approval, because they're not going to overlook some of the offers who don't have a pre-approval versus some that do, because they're not going to want to waste their time accepting an offer if the deal is not going to go through, right? So that's number two. And then and number three is you don't need 20% down. So a lot of people, hey, you absolutely need 20% down in order to purchase a home, but really you can go as low as 3% down. And locally, there's a lot of down payment assistance and grant programs you may be able to qualify for. So you can go as low as 500, if you're a first-time home buyer. So the next thing, and then the lender and real estate agent you work with matters more than you ever will think. So when purchasing a home, you have to think about it like, hey, the lender you work with, or maybe even the agent you work with, they are literally representing you. So for example, the agent is literally representing you to purchase and trying to get the best terms and deal off of that house, helping you negotiate, trying to see what seller concessions you may be able to get from the seller, right? So an experienced real estate agent is so important if you want to get into something like that. And then a lender, shop around. we're independent mortgage brokers, so we actually shop for you. But regardless, it's like working with the bank, whoever, maybe shop around, get a couple few opinions, make sure you're actually getting a good deal. But above that, make sure you're working with a reputable lender. So, and the thing is, you don't want a lender that's not very organized, doesn't have the reputation. You make sure they are actually able to set expectations and carry your deal through. Because the last thing you want, I think a lot of buyers run into this, is maybe you're 2, 3 weeks down in the row of the contract, and then the lender pops up. Oh shoot, I didn't know about that. You had this debt, or you had this alimony, or you had this car payment, whatever it may be, because they didn't verify everything up front, right? And then everything turns into shambles because you can't qualify now, despite, and you might be losing your earnest money. And then the last thing is, I want to make sure everyone is long term when you're purchasing a home. Because one of the biggest thing is you never know how you're going to be staying in the home. And so factor that in and consider about the home appreciation and the value of the home, how much it's going to go up by, right? Because some people may think it's their forever home, but think about, hey, are you going to have kids one day? Are your parents going to move in with you? Or are you going to do certain renovation? Do you want to be rented out, right? Think of that. And actually, the last thing I almost forgot to mention is when you're getting a mortgage and you're putting less than 20% down, usually you have what's called a mortgage insurance, but you can actually shop that. You can shop your mortgage insurance because every lender is going to have different costs of mortgage insurance. It's just like the interest rate, you can shop the mortgage insurance. And that's a huge factor. So sometimes maybe you're getting a little higher payment. Correct me. It's not a higher payment, but a higher interest rate. But you're getting a much cheaper mortgage insurance. It might actually be the better deal, right? So I think what really matters is the bottom line of the payment and closing costs. And never work with someone. You don't want to work with the lender that's going to send you a surprise at the very end, which going back to the point, you want to make sure you work with someone that's reputable. So I hope that kind of helps everybody. If you have any questions, feel free. This is my first video, so I think I'm kind of do this whole YouTube thing, but I wanted to make sure this was valuable to everybody. And then the more we do it, hopefully we'll talk about more. We're going to be talking about everything mortgages, everything business, motivation, leadership related, kind of who I am, and just following along, everybody.